Once upon a time, an extraordinary connection unfolded between a headstrong kid and a destitute grandmother who were complete strangers. Let's meet Sang-woo, a 7-year-old boy embarking on a thrilling journey with his single mother to a quaint little village. As he sat on the bus, surrounded by lively locals, he couldn't help but detest the rural setting with every fiber of his being, stubbornly refusing to embrace it. But alas, circumstances left them with no other choice. His mother, burdened by financial woes, desperately needed someone to care for Sang-woo while she tirelessly searched for a new job. In this challenging juncture, a decision was made. Sang-woo would be left in the care of his maternal grandparents, a visit long overdue since his mother's departure for Seoul at the tender age of 17. Within the walls of their humble abode dwelled a 70-year-old mute woman, leading a solitary existence. Sang-woo's mother presented a few thoughtful gifts to her own mother, entrusting her with the temporary responsibility of caring for Sang-woo. The old lady's heart filled with joy as she reunited with her daughter after a painfully prolonged separation. But, in an unfortunate turn of events, the self-absorbed daughter hastily bid her son farewell and departed for Seoul, leaving him behind. The impoverished grandmother, with a heart of gold, never uttered a single complaint. She bravely embarked on the challenging mission of bridging the communication gap with her young grandson. Alas, Sang-woo proved to be quite the pampered rascal, showing a regrettable lack of respect for his grandmother and using derogatory terms to address her. Preferring only the pre-prepared meals left behind by his mother, he immersed himself in the captivating world of video games, neglecting any attempts at bonding initiated by his grandmother. Despite her unwavering determination, Sang-woo persistently treated her with rudeness and disdain. Cheol-yi, a kid from the block, pops in to visit Sang-woo's grandmother. But Sang-woo, totally grossed out by him, shuts himself off. Meanwhile, his grandmother labors away, taking care of everything around the house. She only asks for a little help from Sang-woo to sew her old shoes. One day, Sang-woo's gaming console runs out of juice, and he throws a tantrum, destroying things in the house and hiding his grandma's shoes. She remains unfazed and continues her duties barefoot. Sang-woo, still unapologetic, steals his grandma's hairpin to sell it for battery money. He searches high and low for batteries, but can't find any, missing the luxuries he had back in Seoul. As night falls, Sang-woo becomes lost and upset, but luckily, a kind stranger helps him find his way home. His grandma is thrilled to see him again. The next day, Sang-woo wakes up to the sound of rain and rushes to gather the laundry, only for the rain to stop immediately after. Nevertheless, he hangs the clothes out to dry and starts to take an interest in his grandma's well-being. Although he's still a bit stubborn, Sang-woo begins to lend a hand and restore order to the house. But something remarkable has already taken place, capturing the grandmother's heart with joyous astonishment. In a gesture of gratitude, she asks Sang-woo what he desires for dinner, and he eagerly presents a tantalizing image of crispy fried chicken. Undeterred by the heavy downpour, the dedicated grandmother ventures out to the market, returning triumphantly clutching the prized chicken. She invests hours of effort in its preparation, only to be disheartened when it falls short of Sang-woo's expectations, causing him to dismissively discard it and retreat back to slumber. Yet, the undeterred and compassionate woman rescues the abandoned feast, leaving it for Sang-woo to devour later. As she had foreseen, his hunger rouses him from sleep in the dead of night, and he devours the chicken without uttering a single complaint. The next morning, Sang-woo awakens to a realization: his grandmother has not risen at her usual time. Alarmed, he rushes to her side and discovers her burning with fever, a consequence of her tireless exertions the day before. Overwhelmed with remorse, Sang-woo gently covers her with a warm blanket. Returning her hairpin as a symbol of his contrition, he takes it upon himself to prepare breakfast for her. With determination in his heart, he ventures outside and unexpectedly encounters Hae-yeon, a captivating girl from the village. Eager to express his affection, Sang-woo extends his interest towards her, only to be met with unkindness and her refusal to engage. As his grandmother recovers from her illness, Sang-woo makes a resolute decision to offer her a helping hand whenever possible. Together, they embark on a voyage to the market, aiming to sell their melon harvest. Along the way, the perceptive grandmother notices that Sang-woo's worn-out shoes need replacing. Working tirelessly beneath the scorching sun, she manages to accumulate enough funds to purchase a new pair of shoes for her cherished grandson, culminating in a well-deserved lunch to celebrate their accomplishment. At the market, Sang-woo spots a battery shop that piques his interest, but he doesn't want his beloved grandmother to spend more money on him. Despite his newfound appreciation for her unwavering love, Sang-woo is still a young boy who makes mistakes. On their way home, his grandmother offers him a snack and he points out a child enjoying a scrumptious choco pie. Grandma rushes to a shop run by her friend who generously offers them some extra pies for free. Meanwhile, Sang-woo hops on the bus with Hae-yeon, leaving his grandmother behind with heavy bags. However, Hae-yeon is not interested in him and prefers to talk to Cheol-yi. Sang-woo realizes his mistake and waits for his grandmother at the bus stop, determined to make it up to her. As she gets off the bus, he rushes to carry her bags and leaves a choco pie as a sweet gesture. But despite his appreciation for sweets, Sang-woo can't help but think about Hae-yeon and hopes to see her again. Unfortunately, she keeps spending time with Cheol-yi, making Sang-woo envious. He decides to play a prank on Cheol-yi, causing him to run away in fear. Coincidentally, a cow passes by and Cheol-yi thinks that Sang-woo saved him. In a twist of fate, Sang-woo's misdeeds catch up to him, causing him to suffer from a painful bout of diarrhea. Fearing the toilet alone, he turns to his grandmother for support, who selflessly stays by his side until the end. This touching moment reminds Sang-woo of the boundless love and sacrifices that parents make for their children. The next day, Sang-woo's attempts to play a trick on Cheol-yi backfires, leaving him with no choice but to flee the scene. But just when he thinks his day couldn't get any worse, he unexpectedly runs into Hae-yeon, who invites him to play with her. Excited to impress her, Sang-woo races to prepare himself, but a bad haircut threatens to ruin his plans. After seeking comfort from his grandmother and taking a sobering trip to visit a sick elderly man, Sang-woo begins to appreciate the value of life and the importance of caring for those who are alone. Determined to turn over a new leaf, Sang-woo sets out to meet Hae-yeon, sporting a cloth around his head. However, he remains indecisive about his footwear, and his grandmother's gift of a game console fails to excite him. Nevertheless, Sang-woo remains hopeful that he can make a good impression and prove himself to Hae-yeon. Hae-yeon turned out to be nothing like what Sang-woo had imagined. Instead of friendship, she deceitfully takes away all his cherished toys, leaving him with a mere stuffed animal in return. Adding to his misfortune, Sang-woo slips and tumbles down a treacherous cliff on his way back. Though he musters the strength to stand up, he hears Cheol-yi's warning shouts about a crazy cow. Assuming it to be another prank, Sang-woo pays no heed, unaware that an actual cow lurks behind him. Thankfully, Cheol-yi comes to his rescue, saving him from potential harm. It is in this moment of reflection that Sang-woo realizes the true value of his genuine friendship with Cheol-yi and how he had foolishly chased after the unkind Hae-yeon. In a sudden wave of realization, Sang-woo recalls his neglected game console. His compassionate grandmother had packed it with money for batteries, intending to surprise him. Now overwhelmed with remorse for his past behavior, Sang-woo's guilt pours out in tears upon his return home. Concerned, his grandmother tenderly wipes away his tears, providing solace and reassurance. She bears good news: his mother has sent a letter, sharing details of her new job. However, before Sang-woo returns to his mother, he wants to ensure that his grandmother can reach out to him if needed. Aware of her difficulty with writing, he simplifies the solution. He instructs his grandmother to send him a blank letter whenever she requires help, assuring her that he will come running without hesitation. As they share this emotional moment, tears flow freely from their eyes, solidifying the precious bond they have formed during their time together. Conscious of the future when he won't be there to assist her, Sang-woo lovingly prepares several threaded needles for his grandmother's convenience. As the days swiftly pass by, the much-anticipated arrival occurs. Sang-woo's mother comes to pick him up, marking the end of his stay with his beloved grandmother. Sang-woo's departure was a bittersweet moment. As his mother thanked his grandma for her kindness, Sang-woo presented a collection of cards he had prepared. The heartbroken grandma knocked on the bus window, hoping to hear a goodbye from her beloved grandson, but received no response. Suddenly, Sang-woo was jolted back to reality and realized the significance of what he was leaving behind. Overcome with emotions, he rushed to the back window to bid his selfless grandma a proper farewell. Despite his deep love for her, he struggled to express it directly. Later, his grandmother found the cards Sang-woo had left and discovered the depth of his concern for her well-being. With messages like, "Missing you," and "I'm sick," he had thoughtfully prepared them as a means of easy communication between them. This touching gesture melted the old lady's heart and erased all memories of the harsh treatment from her grandson. Instead, she remembered that someone always kept her in their thoughts and cared for her deeply. As we grow up, it's easy to forget that our parents are growing older each day. They don't seek material things. All they crave is a little attention and a few sweet words that can make their day brighter.